Hi everyone, it's Mr. Alas. It's Friday afternoon and I am going to grade a few, well, not grade, I'm going to review a few submissions from you guys for the narrative writing assignment of Dancing Carl. So I'm going to just review one or two so you can see how my review process works. And I think this is important for you to see because you need to know what a good submission is and what a submission that needs improvement is. Okay, so I'm going to writable.com, upper right hand corner. I log in with Google and I'm going to log in as a student. Hold on, let me just check if I'm recording. Okay, good. I never know if I'm recording because it doesn't say it. So I'm going to sign in with Google as a student, and I'm going to use a student account. So let's go to Dancing Carl. All right, when you go to Dancing Carl, the part on the left will be your part where you write your draft and revise and self-review. When you do a peer review, you go to the right where it says review. Okay, now the reviews are going to be anonymous. Well, you won't be anonymous as the reviewer because your name will show up that you, and it will say on their submission that you wrote and left them a review. But you, as the reviewer, will not know whose submission you are reading. So let's go through the review process for one or two of these. So again, this is Dancing Carl. It's a narrative text, right, from a book called Dancing Carl, and it's a narrative prompt. It's a narrative prompt because the prompt is asking you to write a story. Well, to retell a story. Okay, so you're writing fiction, it's made up, it's not informational, and it's not argumentative because you're not arguing about your opinion. So anyway, this person decided to use the short story map that was included in this assignment. Now, this is something that we've talked about a couple times in class now. We called it the plot, I called it the plot diagram. Here it's called the short story map. But remember, the plot diagram or short story map, whatever you want to call it, it's shaped as a mountain, right? You've got the exposition introducing the characters, setting, and conflict, going up the mountain to the climax, which is the most exciting part or the turning point, and then the events after that lead then to the resolution, which is the ending. Okay, so this person decided to use that short story map, which you can find in the plan tab. Okay, let me just pull up the, well, we don't need that. And just to remind you guys, here is the prompt. Very easy, very straightforward. One sentence. Based on the excerpt you have read from Dancing Carl, write a narrative retelling the events from the passage from Carl's point of view, using details about the characters and events from the plot. Okay, so what this person did was take the events from the plot, or the events from the story, the original story, and put them... Oh, no, hold on. Oh, this person already started writing it from Carl's point of view and started putting it in the plot diagram. That's great. Okay, I think that it's number one. The most important thing is to make sure that you're writing the story from Carl's point of view. So, okay, so that's Carl. I'm assuming they introduce Kim and Willie. Okay, that's great. Okay, so automatic. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, right? What I will first say when I see this is that it's too thick. There's too much information. When you're doing a story map or a diagram or a plot diagram, just imagine yourself writing this down on the blank piece of paper that you have in front of you during the test, right? You're not going to write entire sentences. You're just going to write a few words, a few phrases that will help you when you actually write the story. So here for exposition, for example, I would just say characters, Carl, Willie, and narrator. right? But I will probably I would probably rename the narrator right here and there. Okay, so I will, because remember, the narrator was the one that told the original story. But in the remix, the retelling, it's Carl's point of view, so you have to find a name for the narrator. So I would say Carl, Willie, and Bob. Okay. And then I would also put set or location, ice rink, warming house, I think, and bunk. That's all I would put. Then put a few things for rising action, put a few things for climax, falling action, resolution. Okay, so I'm going to give 4 stars because the writer does organize his or her ideas before writing. Writer, hold on a second. Okay, good. Plans the plot, characters, and setting of the story. Introduces a narrator and establishes a point of view. This writer establishes the point of view, but doesn't really introduce the narrator. So, wait, hold on. Yeah, so I'm gonna add a comment. Maybe as you are planning this, instead of using I, consider using something like characters equals Carl, Willie, and Bob, or whatever name you choose for the original narrative. Okay, the writer establishes the setting and develops the narrator and characters. This is just a map, so you're not gonna really develop the narrator or characters, right? You do that more when you're writing the story. So this is automatically going to be a 2. It would be higher, but there's no setting other than the bunk, right? I don't know. Oh no, I lied. The bunk and the warming house are mentioned. Okay, that's my bad. So I'm sorry, mystery writer. Good job with that. You did forget the ice rink. Okay, so make sure you mention that. Now here's something I don't know how to. Oh, okay. Something a little bit that scares me a little bit. Right. So far, 1, 2, and 3. There's Carl, Kim, and Willie. The writer puts a direct quote from Willie into Rising Action. That's awesome. And the climax, right? That all makes sense. And Carl's having a bad reaction. Flashbacks, B-17, blah, blah, blah. However, 4 and 5, they sound, the way they're set up here, I mean, it sounds like a great story, right? Is going to come out of this. Like, the writer says that my reaction was kind of ending and it was still bad, so they called the ambulance and the police for help. And then in the resolution, the police and doctors helped me calm down, and I went back to my bunk to lay down and I went to sleep. So that sounds like there's a good story that could come up about that. But think about it. Why does this make me concerned? Why am I scared when I see this as the teacher grading this? Okay, remember your task, right? The task says to write a narrative. So yes, we're telling a story. We're checking that off. And then we're retelling the events. Okay, so we're just telling the story again. The same story, but from a different point of view. So you got to be careful here because you're not adding to the story or changing the story. You're not being asked to by the prompt to change the story. So in number 4 and number 5, this doesn't happen in the original story, all right? They don't call the ambulance. They don't call the police. The original narrator says the original narrator wondered if they should call the police, but the narrator never says that they do or do not. Okay, and the police and doctors never show up. Okay, so be careful because mystery writer, you would lose points if you're going to write your story according to the map that you set up. So yes, number 2 is correct, but I will write the comment that you do set things up in this map well. Personally, I can't spell right now. Personally, I would use just words and phrases and not entire sentences to make your life easier. But be very careful. The verb on your T chart is retell, not change. And in your story map / plot diagram, you change the story starting at you changed the original story starting at number 4 and number 5. All right, so you would lose points for that. Okay, number 5, the writer organizes. Yes, that's fine. The writer adds relevant and descriptive details to develop the story. Right, again, this is just your plan, so you're not going to have all this descriptive details. But I will say, once I move this thing that you can't see, I'm going to say here, I love the fact that you included a quote. Don't be afraid to include more, especially the ones that Carl says himself in the OG story. Except when you do the remix, it will be you, the narrator, aka Carl, saying those words, dialogue. Okay, very good, awesome. Okay, good job, Mr. Rewriter. All right, let's see what let me see what happens next. Okay, so here's your, hold on, is this yours? Yes, it's the same mystery writer. However, this is their draft, right? So this is assuming, so this person wrote a story map or a plot diagram, and from that you create a story, okay? While making sure that you're also doing what the T-chart / prompt tells you to do. So let's do this really quickly. Let me make it bigger. I'll just do this one. Well, we'll see. So, sitting in a bunk in a warming house after having to be in war, I'm still recovering because it was a crazy experience. So most of my colleagues passed away. The plane crashed and most of us didn't make it. So it left me alive with PTSD. Then one day I was just sitting on my bunk when Jamie and Willie came in with the B-17 model. And so Jamie and Willie. So I'm going to highlight yellow. These are characters, right? And I'm going to highlight the I at the beginning because that's a character. All right, who's the character? That's Carl, but it's not letting me highlight it. Anyway, came in with the B-17 model that looked like the plane I was on during the war. I asked them to throw it away because I didn't want to look at it. It reminded me of the war so much that I was losing it on the inside. But Willie said I was crazy, and they both laughed at me. Then Willie asked me, did you have something to do with the B-17s in the war? Something hit me on the inside. I lost it. The red colors on the B-17 models. It triggered my PTSD and trauma so much that... And highlight that. There's something wrong with that sentence. It's missing words. Then I had a bad flashback and reaction. My whispers changed to hisses and my arms went out. Like the B-17 plane wings, then I crashed like the plane. Okay. I had an adverse reaction because it... Ooh, I like that. An adverse reaction. Green for awesome. Awesome description. Awesome descriptive word. I had an adverse reaction because it brought back so many so many terrible memories of the war. My adverse reaction stopped. Okay, you just use adverse, so I wouldn't use it again. I would find another way to say that sentence. I was so tired and everybody was looking at me crazy. Oh, these colors are supposed to match up with the things under. Okay, so my bad. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these. I did them wrong. Boop, boop, boo. Okay. So again, this is just peer review, right? This is me going through it. I don't know who wrote this. And I'm going to... And this is the draft that was written after the plan. Now, remember I was talking about how number 4 and 5 were changing the story? When this mystery writer wrote their draft, they didn't really change the story. They didn't include the police and the ambulance. So that's good, all right? Because that's sticking more to the original story. Because the role of the purpose was to just rewrite the story or retell the story from Carl's perspective. I just am questioning certain things. Sitting on the bunk. So Jamie, I guess, is the narrator, which is good. So that is what? That is green. Okay, so yes, good. The OG narrator. Good. Okay. I was sitting. This is Carl. Great job. Okay. Good. Okay. I can't highlight it because these highlighters go with the numbers, but something with the sequence of events or the order of events kind of sticks out to me. So Jamie and Willie came in, and the writer said, I asked them to throw it away because I didn't want to look at it. But in the actual story, Carl asked the original narrator to throw it away because it was the original narrator that made that stick model B-17. So this would be more correct if it said, I asked Jamie to throw it away, right? Because Jamie, in this version, in this remix, was the original narrator. It reminded me of the war so much that I was losing it on the inside. Okay, good. I would probably, expand that a little bit more and explain what you mean by losing it on the inside. Billy said I was crazy. Okay, Billy didn't... Oh, sorry, Willie said I was crazy. Willie didn't really say. He kind of joked about it. Okay, see, they both laughed at me. Okay, fine, I'll take that. Okay, this should be a question mark and a quotation should end the quotation, and a question mark and a quotation should end that question right there. Because I don't remember in the original text, does Carl say something hit me on the inside? I lost it? I'm a little confused. Or is that quotation going for the colors, the B7? Okay, yeah, so this is missing here. Missing a question mark and end quotation. Okay, something hit me on the inside. I lost it. Red. I lost it and said. I lost it and said. You can say, what is this? You can say something like, I lost it and screamed. Red. Or something like that. Consider. To really bring out the drama. All right, PTSD is no joke, right? And the imagery of like bombs and planes and wars, there's a lot that you can use as an author. I do love how you pulled the color red into it. I do like how you bring in your how Carl changed from being kind of normal to hissing and putting his arms out like the plane wings. Okay, this is not complete. So you say my whispers changed to hisses and my arms went out like the B-17's wings. I would just put like the B-17's wings. Right? We already know that the B-17 is a plane. I would maybe end it. I would maybe end. I will make. What color is that? What is that? End. Put period after wings. The next bit could be its own sentence again for drama. And here, this is also red. I crashed like the plane. Yes. Tell me more about what that really looked like. Use more descriptive language. Descriptive language. I can't. This. Okay. Oh, there it is. Why can't I spell tonight? Oh my goodness. Descriptive language. Figurative language. Like metaphors or similes, etc. You can really build this up so much more. Remember your role, your job as your purpose when writing or when responding to a narrative prompt. Your purpose is to entertain. So bring on the drama. All right. Again, I would not use adverse a second time. And I'm so tired and everybody was looking at me like crazy. Okay, the writer ends by resolving the conflict or offering a satisfying conclusion. Okay. That's blue. I think in general you need to give me more of a conclusion here. So Carl had his adverse reaction. People were looking at him like crazy, etc. What else happened? Okay. Now this you can sort of not change the original text passage, but maybe insert a thing or two. I know I said not to change things, but if you remember, the original passage is the ending of it is kind of vague. So I would maybe add a thing or two to give it an actual conclusion. Okay, this you can sort of insert something to make what was in the original text passage more clear, more of a conclusion. Okay, and that's it. Okay. Complete your review to report abuse. Interesting. Okay. Oh, I have to put. Yeah, I'll give it 2. What? Now I have. Oh, I thought there was like a place to put a comment because I had this like thing. So I'm gonna add something else. I said, let's go over your T-chart. Did you read the excerpt from Dancing Carl? Yes. Did you write a narrative retelling the events from Carl's point of view? Yes. Did you use details about characters and events from the plot? Right? This is your T-chart, right? These are your verbs. Read, write, retell. Did you write a narrative? Did you retell? Oops. The events from Carl's perspective. Yeah, these are your verbs. Read, write, retell, and use. So I would be checking these things off on my piece of paper as I write my response to the prompt. So I said, overall, good job breaking down the prompt into the T-chart and making sure you do most of the things that the prompt tells you to do. Well, no, you're making sure you did all of the things that the prompt told you to do. So making sure you're able to put a check mark next to each verb on your T-chart will maximize the points you earn. Here, where'd it go? Okay, so where is it? Oh my goodness. All right, here you go. Here you will lose some points for, let's see, sequence of events, or not completely sticking to the sequence order of events from the original story. And just needing more story narrative, just using more story narrative tricks to hook your reader. Figurative language, imagery, metaphors, similes. Don't be afraid to pull quotes from the original passage, as long as you change the perspective to reflect the new version. Change the perspective in the new version. The speaker's perspective. Okay. Also, a point or two for some grammatical errors. Like missing quotations, question marks, double using one word, one good descriptive word, back to back, etc. All right. Okay. So this is a good submission. If I were the teacher, because remember, it's a random Mississippi teacher, right? Grading your entry. If I were your teacher grading your entry, I would give this a 9 out of 12. And then I just put this in the bottom. So this is just a draft. Writing is a process. Any feedback is good feedback, even if you think it is bad feedback. Your role as the writer is to take that feedback that you like and that you think helps you and use it to write another draft and another until you are happy. You don't have that luxury on that state test, but I just wanted you to know that this is only the beginning of something that can be great. Okay? So you can't write an award-winning response on the writing test. Your goal, dear student, is to just make sure you make that T-chart correctly and that you write your response using that T-chart and that you check off all the verbs and the what's in the T-chart. Okay? Make it as pretty and dress up that response as much as you can with nice, pretty language and similes and metaphors. But the most important thing is to make sure you do that T-chart and follow it. To a T. Oh, that's so funny. All right, that's it. I'm going to submit. Wait, why can't I submit? Uh, oh, Lord. 2, 3. Cool. Submit. And did it go through? Next. Okay. Cool. I'm looking for one. Okay, remember there's no names on here, so there's no judgment. Okay, so really quickly, I'm not going to review this, but let's see if we can spot what's wrong with it right away. Okay, again, there's too much text. It's too thick in these boxes. You just need words, phrases, names. I'm looking at the events. Okay, good. Narrator with no name. Okay, so you need mystery writer to tell me. It doesn't have to be here, but I need to know when you do write this draft that you know what it meant that when the original narrator said that Carl was a plane. Because what you said here, there was a plane wheeling through the sky and it was a B-17. That didn't happen. There actually was never a plane in the story other than the stick model plane that the unnamed narrator brought in. So it'll be interesting to see what that would look like when you write it. Okay, so be careful when you write your draft, I mean. Carl started to go down with the plane, and he made it seem like a great bomber with a broken wing. Okay, all right. So I'm curious to see how that turns out in the draft. So let's see what the draft looks like. So far, yeah, the story map or the plot diagram pretty much sticks with the original story. So that's good. I am curious because this writer does write about Carl here in third person, and that's okay. That's okay. Because again, you're not writing the story. This is in this map. You're just mapping it out literally. So what I'm curious about is if this mystery writer, will write from Carl's perspective or from someone else's perspective. So let's see what the draft says. Okay, so this writer actually, interestingly enough, wrote more on the plot diagram / short story map than the actual draft. They say the setting is the warming house, and the main character is Carl. The situation is Carl acts weird because Will mentions something about the war and B-17. Carl acts like a plane and hisses, but the narrator with no name doesn't know that yet until he growls. Carl goes down like a plane, but it made a great bomber. Okay, again, I'm not going to review it. But I'm going to ask you what you see or what you've heard right now that sticks out. Okay, actually, I'm just going to put. I guess I can't write. Oh no. Okay, I'm not gonna leave this. I'm gonna erase it. But let's go over the T-chart, because here's your prompt, right? Based on the excerpt, blah blah blah. Write a narrative, tell the events from Carl's point of view, details, characters from the plot. So, just from what we see here, did they read an excerpt from Dance? So did this writer read an excerpt from Dancing Carl? Yes, that is clear that they did, because they made a good story map that almost followed the original passage fully, right? And in this draft, they give a good summary of it, right? This is a summary, right? It's telling what happened, and it's a decent one. So it's clear that this writer did read that excerpt from Dancing Carl. So they could check off that part, that row in the T-chart, right? Did they write a narrative? So here I will say no. So that will be an X on the T-chart. They didn't write a narrative. They didn't write a story. Okay? They wrote something that summarized the story. or in other words, told what happened in the story. And that is in itself, and that is informational, not narrative, right? So when you're responding to an informational prompt, your purpose as the author is to give information, and that's what this writer did, right? They gave information. They wrote the events of the story and described what happened, but they didn't write a story, right? They didn't. Okay, so they did not write a narrative. Did they retell the events from Carl's point of view? No, they did retell some of the events, but it was not from Carl's point of view. Did they use details about characters and events from the plot? Okay, a little bit. Okay? So, overall, this writer would get credit for this part of the T chart and a little bit from this part of the T chart, the use part, right? And then there's other criteria about how they organize their thoughts and whether or not they use good language or tone or whatnot. So there's other grading criteria for that the Mississippi teacher who randomly is grading your story will be using. So I think that this would lose quite a bit of points, right? It completely missed the point of writing from Carl's perspective and retelling the story. It will gain some points, but not a lot. So out of 12, my guess, I would probably need to go through these things again, but just from seeing this, my guess is that this would probably get a 3 out of 12. And it's a shame because the plan was so detailed. But again, you need that T-chart. Make sure you have that T-chart next to you when you're writing, because you need to be able to check off those things. All right, that's it. That's a lot. I'm going to stop now, and then I'm going to go over not Dancing Carl, the narrative quick write in another video. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.